Hello, world. Ijoma O'Neill is my name. I've reached a point in my life where I'm looking back and thinking to give back what I thought I should have had. All my life, I wish I had someone who talked to me, held my hands through the stages. I would have done better than I did right now. And so I think I owe it back to my younger self to have a conversation. And the On Purpose podcast gives me that platform. While talking to my younger self, you're listening to our conversation. And I believe it can help you wherever you are in your 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. I'm 52 right now. And I intend to talk this way as I get old. So the seasons will change. The conversations will get more intense. But I know that I've lived enough to give you certain nuggets that will help you in your life, building your faith, building your career, building a loving family, making you healthy, and also investing wisely. I hope that you follow us through this conversation on the On Purpose podcast and it will be useful to you. God bless you. Here's my thought on relationships. Nobody gets to escape the subject of relationship. You have to go and live under the rocks, away from people. And even at that, you'll be relating with yourself. Some people just think they're just unlucky. I don't like the word luck in the first place, but they just think that they constantly attract the wrong people. I've seen elderly people who've been married and it didn't work, and they can't tell you anything they have contributed to find themselves in such predicament. They just think life is unfair, that men are particularly very selfish. A lot of sense to that. But let's look at it. If you move from one relationship to the other and constantly it ends in pain, or you are the one being used, as you would put it, is it not time to question what exactly it is about you that makes that recur? It's a pattern. It happens again and again. I was sharing with some people in church and I said to them that money does not solve your money problem. Sadly, most of us think that if you have money problem, then having money will solve it. The truth is, the money problem itself is not as a result of the absence of money. It's the absence of the wisdom to make money. You can apply that also to relationship. Relationship does not solve your relationship problem. Just because you were hurt in a relationship by someone and you find another person who seem to act differently and love you in the moment, and then you think that if you skip into this new relationship, you'll be fine. The truth is, temporarily, you would escape from what you used to experience. But I bet you after a while, you see the same circle resurface. So, sitting from my desk in church as I counsel people from all ages, I find certain patterns with the male and certain patterns with the female. And so, let me talk about both first as human persons. And then I can talk specifically about the sexes and their unique contribution to relationships and also the challenges. So let's start with what exactly do we want in a relationship? If you ask people, they tell you they want somebody who just love me, accept me the way I am, appreciates me. And did you notice that everything they talked about is what they want? It presupposes that they are relating with an inanimate object or some robot that if you punch the right buttons, should respond to you and provide the love, the appreciation, the acceptance, and all of that. All relationships function on the basis of reciprocity, which means that in a relationship, for it to survive, you actually give to get. You get a return of your input. And so, as I cannot address in specific terms the myriads of relationships and the challenges that they face, but we can look at some collective experiences and then talk about certain things. Now, there's what you may be doing that is responsible for the pains that you suffer in relationships that don't end up well. But also, there's something you should be doing that you're probably not doing. So let's look at how men come into relationships. Whether we all want to admit it or not, we are first attracted to the opposite sex, basically by accessing their physical features. Now, that's what we want. That's what attracts us to a relationship. She's built like a Coke bottle. She's looking very, very fine and all that. She's a pretty lady. So that's what we want. But that's not what keeps the relationship. See, what attracts you to a relationship is not what keeps the relationship. After getting that beautiful lady, we now need something from her that we most times don't consider at the first instance when we want the relationship. Flip over to the female party. What women want in a relationship. Um, in simple terms, we can call it security. They want a guy that loves them, loves them. I hear that all the time. And then you can really marry or come into some kind of relationship commitment with somebody who truly loves you. But then what you need rather than what you want is someone who can lead you. I asked my congregation in church a few days ago, would you rather be adored or adore your partner? Tricky question anyway. But if you want to marry somebody that adores you, which is somebody who loves me, take care of me, caters to me and all that, then to adore someone invariably is to look up to the person. It's a form of worship. So while that appeals to you sensually and all of your emotions, the real thing you need is somebody who can lead you. But we come into the relationship asking for a leader, basically no. Are the virtues or characteristics of a leader the first thing that we love in a person? Basically no. So ultimately, if you find yourself from one relationship to the other and having similar experience, the issue is the one thing all the relationships you have been involved in have in common is you. You are the common denominator. So is it not time for you to pull yourself aside from all relationships and investigate not just what you are doing that may be causing this problem, but what you probably are not doing? Let me give you an example of something you may not be doing. How do you vet people who come into your life? That someone likes you, is that what opens the door for you to get into a relationship? If that's what opens the door for you to come into a relationship because somebody is nice and kind to you, does it not signal to you something that you're lacking? Maybe not truly loving yourself, maybe being insecure, needing the approval and affirmation of external bodies, people. And so if somebody caters to you in some ways, your doors are flung wide open, not knowing that it will not always be that way. At the excitement phase of the relationship, which is at the beginning of a relationship, people are bound to put up their best behavior, especially in this age and time where people date across social media platforms. They hardly know each other until they probably visit and then talk to one another and all that, and then begin to find out that now that the excitement is settling down, the real issues of what sustains a relationship begins to rise head, and they find that they are both lacking from both ends. He can't lead, she can't follow. Most beautiful, pretty girls today are not preparing themselves for marriage. They may not agree with me. Think about it. Your certificate, your qualifications, and your money don't make you a better wife to a man. What is a wife, really? A wife is a help mate or a help suitable. That's what my Bible says. I don't know what you think. The modern culture today is talking about some level of equality in marriage. I'm not talking of equality of persons, equality of positions. For men, you may run into a woman's life and you believe that this woman is attractive to you until you find out that while she's attractive, she has some level of independence that you cannot cope with. And then, of course, society gives men options. Then they begin to flip around and move into some other things. And that thing you thought you ran away from, can't you see the circle? All relationships that end up in problem or divorce usually started out excited. First time you met each other, you liked each other. You kept the date. You promised to see by 12, by 11:30, you were already calling. And somehow it settles back. Can't you see a cycle? I am challenging people to look at relationship with very objective eyes, because the truth about relationship, in spite of the emotions and all of that, we all need different things from the relationship. As a man, what a man wants the most is to be the one in charge of his life and his relationships. The man wants to be the authority in his home, he wants to be the authority in his family, and a woman wants to be the center of attention to the man. Now, what makes a man really keep you at the center of attention in his life? If that man finds you wifing, and what it means to wife in today's culture is a subordinate position. It is not a role to play. It is you being demeaned or being reduced. I play the game of golf, and I meet a lot of women, mostly above 40. Some of them get into their 50s and ahead. Many divorced. And as a man, when I relate with them now, not like their relationship, I've met a few of them. I had to talk to them once they knew I was a pastor, they were able to open up to me and talk to me about some very personal things, seeking counsel. And most times when I talk to them about very pertinent issues for relationships that have failed, some of them break down and cry and all of that. But in the course of just being friends with them, I also see in them why the marriage failed. I've never had to hear from the man's perspective, but I'm just saying, I myself am in a relationship with this person. It's not marriage anyway, this is just my friend. But I see that, number one, they don't understand the lines of authority. Number two, let me give you some very simple example. A particular lady is not seeking my permission. She's just telling me things to do. I want you to send your children to school in this place. I want you to this. When I look at her, she has good intention, but I see somebody who is not seeking permission to make decision in another person's life. I could imagine what that would be in their marriage. So I find a common pattern with this sort of, there's this kind of autonomy that the modern woman seeks that makes them rebellious to the setting of the human family. That's the problem. As for men, most men just want sex. Remember, for sex to happen in a relationship, it's in the hand of the woman. Women control access to sex. But for marriage to happen or some permanent relationship to happen there, it's in the hand of the man. So when you meet a man, no matter how much he likes you or whatever, you're going to ask yourself what you really want. If you know from day one that you want a long-term relationship with him, then you must know that you want to be sure that it's not the short-term satisfaction of his erotic desire that he wants from you. Which means you are going to use the opportunity of controlling the access of sex to clarify whether this relationship has a long-term commitment or not. I tell you this, you can take it or not take it. That's up to you. But men know from the first date whether this is going to be long-term or not. A man knows from the first date whether this is long-term or not. I was counseling with a young lady and she told me that this guy is reasonable and all of that. And this is the statement the guy made. So the guy said that I would, in a conversation at night, the guy said, I would like my children to have your intelligence. And I stopped her and I said, he didn't say I would like her children. He said, I would like my children. I said, did you not see he was teasing you? He was sort of bringing close to you the longing of marriage, but holding back commitment, because tomorrow is going to tell you, I never promised I was going to marry you. The more I investigated that relationship, I saw that the lady was vulnerable in every relationship she entered, because from the beginning, she likes people who are, she said it to me. She said, I like people who are humorous. I like people who are intelligent. And Sometimes women know they are being played, but they also get in the flow because for them, it's just one way to engage their loneliness and forget about just to drift. But you must know that as a lady, between the ages of 15 and 25 is, for me, the best season of your life to make marriage commitment. Don't buy this fluff. I hear a lot of people asking questions like, is marriage an achievement? I think it's such a silly question. The problem with the consequences of undermining prominent relationships that build family is that the consequences are not almost immediate. I think young girls in their 20s need to talk to or be in the company of women in their 50s and see how they live. This lady I was talking to you about at the golf course one day told me that after all this grandstanding of that, when they told me, say, do you think it's easy? So what do you mean? Do you think it's easy? And she's doing well financially. So do you think? I said, what is it that is easy? She said, to be alone. To be alone. She's forcing herself into the space of her children. She's sort of overly controlling. She wants to direct everything in their life. The reason is because she does not have a partner. She does not have a friend. She does not have a relationship. Now, relationship is not always because of having children. By the way, it's good to have children. I have children. I think you should have some. But remember, ultimately, they will go live their lives. And I've seen people who break marriages because they didn't have a child. When ultimately, these children will be gone again. So it's people that build marriages and the marriages morph into families. So the individual, so if you can't have a great or a bad family, you can't have a great family if you have a bad marriage. So if you find yourself moving from one relationship to the other, you come out of it, and religious people often say, I prayed about it, I prayed about it, and then you don't have, I said, it's not what you are doing, maybe something you are not doing. If you don't vet how people come into your life, what gives somebody the space in your life? A man may know that he's already in terms of your attention. Because now you can take his call. Just yesterday, a lady said to me, every time I call you, you don't return my call. For me, it's deliberate. The reason is I don't want to encourage that relationship. So I told her, I said, oh, don't worry, I'll call you tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. I'm going to try my best to call her today, but I'm also going to go back to not calling her. The reason is I don't want to feed that, because in vetting relationships for my life, at 50, I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources to expend catering to people's baggages that they could not handle before they got old. I don't want to be, somebody can just recruit you as their personal counselor and they really don't want to take your advice. They just want somebody that they can be pouring on, complaining, and then you will suit their pains and say sorry and all of that. I don't want to do that. So I have looked at this person and I know that we have conflicting values. Because we have conflicting values, I can't even permit them to be my friend. However, just because the person wants me and likes me and all of that, there are people who, if somebody shows you enough attention, you will just put your fences down. And it's proof you are not whole. Something is wrong in there. That's why they can walk into your life, because they love you. Love is not the reason why you should let people come into your life. If your values are in conflict, that is a telltale sign that you're going to have problematic relationships. So the first relationship upon which all other relationship is based on, if it's sick, the relationships will all collapse. And that's the relationship you have with yourself. So maybe it's time for you to stop getting into relationships and be by yourself and heal yourself and become a whole person and love yourself before. So I think if you do that, you value yourself enough to choose who comes into your life and who stays, whether they end up being just friends or partners for life. That's my rant. Thank you.